What did Ivan Pavlov do to the dog? What if the sound of a bell could control your thoughts? What if your body could be trained to obey without you even knowing it? One man in a quiet laboratory in Russia discovered that instinct is not destiny, and that behavior, even love and hunger, could be conditioned. Today on Chronicles of Legends, we look at the eerie and revolutionary story behind Ivan Pavlov's dogs, an experiment that not only changed psychology but challenged our very understanding of free will. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov wasn't a psychologist. He was, first and foremost, a physiologist, trained in the mechanics of the human body. Born in 1849 in Russia, Pavlov had an almost obsessive fascination with digestion, particularly how the body responded to food, even before it entered the stomach. At the Institute of Experimental Medicine in St. Petersburg, Pavlov asked a question that would seem simple to anyone outside science. How does the stomach know it's time to secrete digestive juices? To answer that, Pavlov needed to observe something humans couldn't normally see: the body's internal secretions in real time. To study this invisible process, Pavlov developed a radical and controversial technique. He and his team performed surgical procedures on dogs to create what's known as a fistula, a small, controlled opening in the body that could divert fluids like saliva or gastric juices outside the body for measurement. In some experiments, he would even sever the esophagus so that food swallowed by the dog would never reach the stomach. This method, known as sham feeding, allowed him to separate the psychological anticipation of food from the actual digestion of it. The result: he could finally see the body's preparation for food just from the sight, smell, or even the sound associated with it. To modern ears, this sounds cruel, but in Pavlov's time, it was groundbreaking science. The goal wasn't to torture, it was to unlock a mystery of the body, and in doing so, he stumbled upon something far more profound. One day, Pavlov noticed something odd. Even before the food arrived, the dogs were salivating. Sometimes it was the sound of a door. Other times, it was the footsteps of the lab assistant. What was happening? Pavlov realized the dogs had learned to associate a neutral stimulus, like a bell or a light, with food. Over time, the neutral became meaningful, and with that, Pavlov discovered what we now call classical conditioning. Here's how it works. Unconditioned stimulus, US, food. Unconditioned response, UR, salivation. Neutral stimulus, NS. Bell. After repeated pairings, conditioned stimulus, CS. Bell, conditioned response, CR, salivation. This wasn't just a trick. It was proof that behavior could be engineered, that the brain could be trained, without thought, without awareness. Pavlov's work shook the foundations of psychology. Before him, the dominant theory was introspection. The idea that consciousness and experience could be studied through thought. But Pavlov introduced something colder, more scientific, more deterministic. Behavior is a machine, and it can be programmed. Later thinkers like John B. Watson and B.F. Skinner would build on this to create behaviorism, the idea that all human actions, love, fear, addiction, could be reduced to stimulus and response. But hidden in this revelation was a darker implication. If the bell can control the dog, what controls the human? How many of our beliefs are simply conditioned responses, triggered by symbols, sounds, ideologies? Modern audiences understandably ask, was it ethical? By today's standards, Pavlov's surgeries on dogs are considered inhumane. But in the early 1900s, ethical norms were different. And Pavlov treated his animals with great care by the standards of the day. Still, the debate remains. Can knowledge born of discomfort lead to better treatment of life? Or is it a shadow we must confront to understand ourselves? What's undeniable is this: Pavlov didn't just change science. He changed language, education, advertising, and even military interrogation tactics. His work echoes in everything from how children learn alphabets to how we're manipulated by media. So what did Ivan Pavlov do to the dog? He performed surgery. He trained it to salivate at a bell. He measured what no one had measured before. But more than that, he taught us a terrifying truth. We are not just thinkers, we are creatures of pattern. Our habits, our fears, our desires, many of them are learned without permission. The question we must now ask is not just how we are conditioned, but how we can awaken to see the bells in our own lives and reclaim the freedom they try to wring away. This has been Chronicles of Legends. If you found this story fascinating, remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. But only if you want to, and not because you've been conditioned to. Until next time, seek truth, challenge patterns, and always remain awake.